Good morning. Happy day before Christmas Eve. I've missed all of you. Man, I'm so glad that I'm getting to come together with you today and we get to do some yoga as healing as we step into the holiday. And for sure, I'm going to just take a guess that for most of us, this is going to look a little different this year than our holidays maybe have looked in the past. So, what I'd love for you to have for this practice today is a blanket if you would like it. And then I always like to have some blocks. Sometimes we'll use them, sometimes we won't. I know I'll always make modifications for you. So if you don't have props, don't worry about it. It will be all good. One fun quick announcement is starting January 4th, I am leading a virtual retreat called The Journey Within. And it's about unlocking 7 different secrets that just help us all on our own self development path. And as we think about transformation and things evolving and wanting to implement positive change for ourselves, for our life, we begin here. And so if you're interested, I do have that link at the top and would love to have you join us. So we're going to start laying down today. I want you to make yourself comfortable. So my back's been just a little bit cranky. It's probably from rounding and wrapping and doing all the things. And so I'm going to take a blanket and actually roll that in a moment and put it underneath my knees so that it just helps release my hip flexors a little bit more and my low back. You can start any way you want. So come find a nice, easy seat. Letting yourself just settle in. So welcome to your mat. Good morning, good morning. So glad you are here. If you're still getting settled, you can type in a word or even an emoji about how are you feeling this morning? How are you feeling this morning? Today in this practice, I want us to be able to create a space to be open, to accept, and to work with whatever we are feeling in this moment. Things are probably looking different. And I want you to be able to hold space for how you feel about that today. I know it's different in our life. Normally we get together with my husband's from a pretty big family and we all get together at my mother-in-law's house on Christmas Eve and have soups and unwrap presents, and it's just the cousins are together. It's magical. Every year I just look around and think we're so blessed. I'm so glad. And we are still blessed. Everybody is healthy and doing well, but we're not together. And that hurts. It's hard. And there's this balance, I don't know about you, but I find myself in of just giving yourself space to acknowledge how you feel and also knowing that you can shift your attention and probably find a lot of really good things too. Right? That maybe you don't get to see your family or hug your babies or your grandbabies or just who maybe you haven't seen someone in such a long time, but maybe you all are healthy and maybe you have food to eat. And so it's right, it's kind of playing in these two worlds of acknowledging how we feel and being open and making space for that, working with it and not against it. And also at the same time, knowing that the filter through which we're viewing our world always begins in our own mind. And that kind of gives you power to kind of reclaim your own power. So I want you to take one hand over your heart and one hand over your belly. And we begin with the understanding that we can't experience profound well-being or healing without working with and not against the grittiness of life, the grittiness of what is. So we'll move a little bit in this practice as we often usually do in healing, but we're also going to have some longer holds, almost feeling a bit yin like today. And so finding right now as you lay here a moment of space, a moment of quiet for you to set an intention. Very good, yogis. And then bring your arms up over your head. I'm going to kind of click my heels down into the ground, even though I've still got the blanket there, and reach the arms over my head. And then exhale. I'm going to slide my blanket out. So if you're using a prop of any kind, I want you to set that off to the side. Keep your arms over your head. Take your feet about as wide as your hips and open up your arms just slightly so your forearms can be resting on the ground. Call this the human X. We're going to start off with some somatic movements, kind of helping. It might just be for me, but some low back, okay? So I want you to imagine someone is pulling on your right heel. And so your right heel is going to reach longer than your left heel. And then bring it back to center. Now again, there can be a little bend in your elbows as your arms are overhead so that your forearms are comfortable, they're resting on the floor. If it's too much, just take them more like a cactus, okay? And now imagine somebody's pulling on your left heel. What I love about this is the subtlety of the movement. And it's not a particular difficult, now stretch right leg, particular difficult movement, but it's also not exactly easy. So I like to inhale as I extend one side, and then I exhale and come back to neutral. Now you could do the opposite if that feels more natural. What I do invite you to do is to breathe. Now we're going to add in arms. So hopefully you've done about 3 on each side. So now your right heel, imagine that. And I also want you to simultaneously imagine someone's pulling on your right wrist. So that arm is going to stretch more straight. It's still slightly on a diagonal. And then back to center. And now left heel and stretch your left arm. And then back to a more comfortable neutral position. Do it one more time each side. Right leg, right arm, breathe in. So we're contracting on one side. You can kind of notice that contraction on the right side if you were on the right. And then left and neutral. Good. Now let your arms come more into a cactus shape. Pause for a moment. Set both feet down onto the floor. Good. Now take a breath. Just breathe in and breathe out. And then your arms, feet will stay as they are. Your arms will come by your sides. And we're going to do something called arching and flattening. And I wore my Christmas sweatshirt today. My brother-in-law made these little take on the Starbucks. You'll have to look again when I sit up, but you're going to arch, so you can't see. My point is it's harder to see in a sweatshirt, but you're going to arch your back, lift your chest up towards the sky, and then exhale. I want you to flatten your back. So the bottom of the buttocks will lift and your whole lumbar spine will flatten onto the ground. Good. So inhale, arch. Exhale, flatten. Now my back has been a little sensitive. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my blocks. Don't worry if you don't have one. And I'm going to put it the narrow way between my thighs. So I'm going to inhale, arch. Exhale. So a lot of times, multiple reasons the back gets sore, but I know for me, that my outer rotators are much stronger than my internal adductors. And so whenever my back starts to get sore, the things I pay attention to, you keep going here, inhaling and exhaling, is one, how I stand. Because how we stand, and I'll show in a little bit when we stand up, um, from the floor up is dictating how all the muscles and things are happening, what's happening in the back. And so that's the first place I start. And the second thing I'll do sometimes, my husband laughs at me, is I'll keep a yoga block like in my bathroom or in my kitchen. And when I'm standing doing the dishes or even folding laundry or brushing my teeth, I'll stick the yoga block, squeeze it between the legs, and it just helps me reawaken those muscles. We've got about 3 more here. It should now if you're squeezing the block like I am, my inner thighs are getting quite tired. Exhale. But I swear to you, within a day or so of just doing that, reawakening those muscles so that the whole body is participating a little bit more evenly, that my back pain begins to totally let go. Good. All right, now stay neutral spine now. You're not arching, you're not flattening, you're right in between. I'm going to keep the block there. I just have to let my inner thighs rest for just a second. And then I'm going to take the hands behind the head, navigating, and I encourage you to put on a Christmas hat if you have it, or some Christmas jingles. I want you to take the hands behind the head, push into your outer elbows. And again, you're going to arch the back. And then as you exhale, squeeze the block if you have it and curl. So this is called arching and curling, and lift up. Elbows come shoulder height now. So inhale. Again, don't worry if you don't have a block, no big deal. You could squeeze a water bottle or something if you wanted to. Inhale back. And what's nice about these is you don't have to do a lot. Arch the back. Exhale. Don't have to do a lot for them to be incredibly effective. Let's do 2 more. Exhale, curl. Try not to pull on your head. You're just supporting the head. Front body contracts to help you bring your body up. Very good. Inhale. Now set it down. I'm going to take the block. I'm going to set that off to the side. And we're going to bring the soles of the feet together, and I'm going to let my arms just go into cactus. So those of us that were working with the block, those inner thighs a little tired here, so let them release. And allow yourself in this moment, we're going to be here for about a minute, 6 deep breaths, to try not to resist. Stay in the present moment. You may have a lot to do. You may feel all done. You may feel overwhelmed, and you're just staying with whatever sensations are coming up. You're working with them, not against them. You're allowing them to come up. But at the same time, as the thoughts come, keep connecting back to the breath. So even though you may feel intense emotion, let your breath be your anchor. One more breath. Notice if it feels challenging to be still. So what you're going to find, take your hands now, gently bring your knees together, as we'll probably keep pulsing in and out of this pattern. We're going to roll to the right side where we kind of move a bit, and then we're going to just be still in a pose. And then we'll move for a bit, and then we'll be still. Okay, so you're going to use your right arm underneath your head to lay on your side. I'm laying on my right side. And I want you to take your left hand right onto the hip, the outer hip here. This hat is really keeping me in the Christmas spirit. That's what it's doing. Okay, excuse me. You're going to squeeze your knees together. Squeeze your knees together. And all you're going to do, top hand, left hand's on your hip, is slowly start to lift your left shin up and then set the knee or the shin back down. Knees are staying together the whole time. Lift up and lower. Now, the slower you go, I like to inhale again as I go up, exhale down. And what I love, and you can keep your eyes open or closed here, is just noticing all the little nuances. Keep squeezing, like really press your inner thighs and your inner knees together. And when I do that, not only is my top rotator firing off, but my bottom one, because I'm pushing into the outer edge of my right foot. And that really lights things up. Inhaling. Remember when you were squeezing the block, that awareness is still present right now in those inner thighs as they stay glued together, knees stay glued together. Now you're going to add on here. Ooh, maybe you pause a little at the top. You're going to take your left hand, bring it behind your head, and we're going to curl up. So your hand is behind your head. You're going to lift your head so we're really compressing on this left side, and then lower the head back down. And lift up. Now I'm liking the exhale up. So before I was doing the inhale when it was just the leg, now I like the exhale on the way up. Inhale on the way down. 3 more. Exhale, lift. And lower. I want you to try to isolate those obliques. It's easy to push in this bottom arm. Try to have that energy coming from your left waistline. Lower. Last time. Exhale, lift. Squeeze your legs together. And lower. Very good. Now I want you to stretch your left leg straight and your left arm, my bottom arm still bent. Stretch your left arm over. And just notice a nice stretch through that left side body. And take one more breath. Push through that left heel. Imagine someone's tugging on your left ankle and your left wrist. Keep reaching the left fingertips. And then bend that left knee in. Place your left hand in front of you. Now you can just roll to the other side. I'm going to stay facing all of you, but you can just roll the other way. All right. Here we go. Here we go, yo. Okay. All right. Right hand is going to start on the hip. Squeeze the legs together and lift and lower and lift. I'm going to start off now exhaling, just knowing that I'm going to be contracting up with the upper body. So I'm going to exhale, lift and lower. Exhale. The important thing is your breathing, okay? And so again, if what I cue for your breathing, it's not feeling not right for you in your body, in fact, it's making you feel more contracted, then I want you to just breathe normally, okay? This is a healing practice. It's meant to support you. One more, just like this. Exhale, lift and lower. Now you're going to take your top hand that's on the hip, bring it behind your head, bottom hand still staying there. You're going to exhale, lift and lower. Exhale, lift and lower. Again, lift and lower. 3 more times. Lift. Squeeze your legs together, okay? If you're not squeezing, imagine you can't even slide a piece of paper. Squeeze the legs together on the inner thighs. It'll be a very different movement. Last time, exhale, lift, squeeze, and lower. Good. Now keep the left leg bent. Stretch your top right leg straight. Stretch your right arm straight. Big side body stretch. Is it different for you if you point your foot versus flex your foot? Maybe you get more stretch if the heel is not actually on the ground, or if you like it on the ground, you get more stretch that way. Very good. Now we're going to roll from here, yogis, onto the belly. Okay, we're going to roll onto the belly, coming into Sphinx pose. Forearms are going to be right underneath you, elbows underneath your shoulders. My feet are going to be just a hair wider than hip width apart. And I want you to look over your right shoulder to the right as you exhale. And then inhale, come to center. And then exhale, look over your left shoulder. And then back to center. And look over your right. And back to center. And look over your left. So giving our body a chance to stretch out after we just did that movement. Center and left. Center. Good. Now you're going to take your left hand, the palm is going to face down, and you're going to bring the left temple onto that hand. Your right hand's just going to be on the ground. Good. And just pause. Good. Now keep your left arm where it is. I want you to just bring your right temple onto that hand. So a nice, just very subtle neck stretch. Now what we're going to do is a little alternating leg lift with the head. So we're going to start by lifting your right leg. Lift your right leg. And as you do, you're going to lift your head up. You're going to keep your hand connected to your right temple and even lift your left elbow up towards the sky. So right leg lifts as your left elbow comes up. And then bring it back down. Now do that again. Inhale. Lift. Your right hand is staying on the ground. And lower. Inhale, lift. And lower. You have two more here. Lift. And lower. Really getting that elbow up. One more. Lift and look up even a little bit. And lower. Good. Now setting that down. Pause for a moment. Notice the right side, if that's where you're feeling it, of its sacrum. And then we're going to switch. Okay, so your right hand, I want you to start with your right temple on. Your left hand now is back by your hip. Just for a breath or two, looking this way. And then switch. Now put your left ear, or left temple, I should say, on the back of your right hand. Now we're going to be lifting our left leg and our right elbow. So we're going to lift and lower. Now your left side, your left shoulder is staying down. Lift, lower. Now my right leg, that's also staying down. That leg is engaged. Lift, meaning my right kneecap, lower, is not on the ground. Top of the foot is, thigh is. Lift and lower. You have two more here. Lift and lower. One more. Lift. It's not easy here. And lower. Okay, pause for a moment. Bring your arms back underneath you into Sphinx pose. Forearms right underneath you. Gaze is soft. Shoulders are drawing out of your ears. And we'll be here for about 1 minute right now, okay? 1 minute here. And you're working with, not against, okay? Working with whatever sensations are coming up. And you become curious about What is on the other side of those sensations? What do I have to learn? When you breathe in, the belly is expanding. As you breathe out, we notice the contraction. All right, now very slowly, I want you to shift your gaze towards your belly. Draw your upper torso back down to the ground. Put your forehead on the earth for a moment. Just pause. And then we're going to push into those hands and come to a puppy pose. So we're going to come up onto our knees. Walk your arms forward and bring your forehead down to the floor. I'm going to walk my knees back just a hair so I really can feel this stretch of the spine, because the last few movements now that you've done, you've been giving a nice squeezing action happening in the kidney band, looking over the shoulder in the Sphinx, that alternating lift, and then in Sphinx pose. Lengthen from your outer hips to your outer waistline, to your outer armpits through your fingers. Allow where the two shoulder blades to come together at the bottom, tips of them. Soften the base of that heart towards the floor a little deeper. Good. And then walk your hands back underneath you. All right. We're going to cross the ankles and come to seated. Come to seated. Bringing your legs out in front of you, your right shin in front of your left shin. Right shin in front of your left shin. Good. And then you're going to take your arms out into a cactus shape. Scooch forward just a little bit. So inhale here. Draw the arms back. Open up the chest. And then exhale, I want you to round your back, sit back, and bring your forearms together. Now, as you inhale, you're going to cactus and turn to the right. Breathe in, really noticing that right shoulder blade. And then exhale, forearms together, and come back to center. Round. This time you'll go left. Inhale, cactus, open. Big stretch across the front of that left pec here. And back to center. And then right to the midline here, cactus your arms straight out in front of you. Inhale, open. And now this time, right arm on top of left arm, Garudasana arms. Lift your elbows up, and I want you to just tilt your forearms. So kind of push if you can get your hands all the way together, and don't worry if you can't, but just tip your forearms a bit to the right. And if you've got that left hand, you can push on your right palm here a little bit. Really work into the inner medial border of your shoulder blade. Tapping into movements that will definitely bring up sensation in the body of some sort for most of us. And then bring the arms back up. Exhale, reach them out to the side, and I want you to just shake them. So one way that we can begin to move energy is through shaking, especially through the hands. So I'm going to take my arms up a little bit and exhale down a little bit. And do it again, bring them up. And it kind of feels fun. And like you could put on a Christmas jazz song and just rock out. A little Ariana Grande, one more time, reach up. And exhale down. Good. Now take both your hands behind you, interlace your fingers, push your knuckles into the ground, and just lift your chest. And take 3 deep breaths here. You might notice a stretch across the biceps here as you're pushing down into the hands. You might notice it across the front of your sternum, your collarbones. Really noticing how movement can open you and your breath. Very good. And then release. Okay, shrug that off for a moment. Lean back. Switch the cross of your shins. Start the same. Cactus the arms. Inhale, open the chest. And then exhale, round. Now we're going to go to the left first, yogis. Inhale, twist left. Exhale. You might find, I do in my body, there's a point where I almost feel a little stuck, right? Where it just can't seem to go any, right? You kind of notice that? Or the point where exhale almost feels like you want to hold your breath or you need to hold your breath. That's where I get curious, right there. Inhale. Exhale. Now we're going to open them up, breathe in, and now left arm on top of right arm. Left arm's on top. Relax the shoulders out of the ears here. Try to pull your elbows apart a little bit. Notice how that can create a release. And then you're going to tip your forearms to the left. Tip your forearms to the left. Keep breathing. Yes. Bring it back up. Inhale. Exhale, release. Now you're going to start at the top, reach your arms up, and I want you to open and close your hands, bringing the arms down to the ground as you do, and bringing the arms back up. Waking up the forearms and the wrists, breaking them down. Open and close. The faster you go, the more intense it becomes, okay? Again. And up. You're going to start to feel this through the whole arm. This time when we come down, we're going to stay down. Interlace your hands, your non-natural grip behind you. Push into your knuckles. And inhale, lift your chest. Roll the shoulders back and down. Sometimes when you get into a pose, it feels like you're coming home. Do you ever feel that way? Coming home to your breath, coming home to yourself. There's this moment where you can feel like you're not resisting anything anymore, and it just feels so good. Sometimes we have that feeling more than others, and sometimes we can't find it at all. All right, just reach your arms, crossing one in front of the other, one in front of the other. Very good. And then we're going to come around and come up to standing at the top of your mat. So any way that you would like to get there, come on up. Come up to standing. Now, I was talking earlier about the feet, and I want to mention this point because I think it's really important because we establish habits very young about how we walk and how we stand. So for a lot of folks, they will turn their feet out a little bit. And I just want you to take your hands to your hip flexors here and just notice that when you turn your feet out, and then sometimes we get the push of the pelvis, the hips forward, where we stand like this. And what happens to your hip flexors when you do that? In my body, they just got real darn tight, okay? Now I want you to turn your feet so that the center of your second toe is in line with the center of your ankle. So your second toe mound in line with the center of your ankle. Hands still on your hips, still on those hip creases. And I want you to take the groins back a little bit, which feels slightly for a moment like you're sticking your butt out, but we're not going to stay there. And then drop your tailbone down, but without pushing your pelvis forward. So groins back, tail down, and now just notice if those hip flexors have released a little bit just through turning your feet forward instead of having your feet turning out and pushing your hips forward, okay? So that's a big thing when it comes to the back, and I have to really pay attention to how I'm standing because it's very easy for me to kind of sit in one hip, right? Especially if you've ever had kids and you're holding someone on a hip. So being really mindful of just taking time where you're keeping some balance between right and left sides. So standing, feet are hip distance, Second toe mound in line with the center of your ankle. I want you to reach your arms up towards the sky. Breathe in. Turn your palms out and exhale. Good. Inhale up. Now when your arms are parallel, keep your left arm where it is and keep the right arm going up to the sky. And now turn both your palms down. Exhale. And when your right arm is level with left, you're going to bring both of them down. Yeah. Now you're going to do the same on the other side. Inhale. Now the left arm is going to keep going. And then exhale. And I think it has everything backwards with my camera. So if it looks like I'm doing the opposite of you, just keep going. Do as I say and not as you think I'm doing. Inhale. Reach. Palms are up. Right arm keeps going. Palms turn down. Exhale. Once they're parallel, one more time. Really simple movement, but really activates and wakes up our brain. Using both hemispheres. Turn the palms down. Exhale. Good. Bring your left hand to your hip. Reach your right arm up to the sky. Kind of an apple picking somatic movement here. It's kind of similar to the human X that we did. I want you to reach with your right arm. You can look up to the ceiling or keep your gaze forward. Big stretch through the right waistline. And if you want, put your weight in your right foot and lift your left heel. So it's opposite this time. And then exhale, right hand to hip. And then reach with your left arm. Lift your right heel. And bring it back down. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Keep both hands on your hips. Bend your knees into Utkatasana. Kind of a skier's chair pose, okay? See the skier? Okay. All right, so you're going to keep your feet hip width apart. Put your weight in your left foot, but keep as little movement happening as in your hips as you can. And all you're going to do is tap your right big toe off to the right and bring it back to center. And tap it to the right and bring it back to center. Tap it to the right. Your left leg staying bent. Center. To the right. Center. Now you're going to tap it straight back. Same foot. Tap it back. And center. Tap it back. Center. Tap it back. Okay, I'm feeling myself moving there. So a little more. Little movement as possible. Tap it back. And center. Good. Push to stand. Breathe in. Exhale, breathe out. Second side. Skier's chair. I just made that. It's really not a skier's chair. I think of this as skier's chair, but just going to go with it. All right. Left toe taps off to the left. Breathe in. And center. Okay, so you can see mine. Feel for yourself. Little movement as possible. Center. To the left. Center. Two more. To the left. Center. So glad we've got some of you on today. Left. And center. Good. Now you're tapping it back. Tap it back. Center. Some of you cycle. We always say tap back, tap back. Center. Tap it back. These standing hips are getting a little tired. Two more. Tap. Center. One more. Tap. You're trying not to rush, right? Center. Now push to stand. Whew. Release your arms by your sides. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold all the way to the ground. Inhale, lengthen your spine. And exhale, step your right foot back into a lunge. All right, now you might want that blanket for some padding for the knees. I'm going to grab my blocks and I'm going to put my hands on blocks. You could also bring your hands on your front thigh. But I'm going to keep mine on the floor just to get a nice deep stretch for those hip flexors. It's a really nice pose if your back has been feeling sensitive. Getting those hip flexors to release. Soften your gaze. And this is perfect training ground for, we begin with the understanding that we have to work with all the sensations. It's not in our DNA to do that, right? It is in our DNA to exit when there is discomfort, when there is difficulty, when there is struggle. So understand that as you step into a spiritual path, usually we find our way into a spiritual path because we're looking for an answer, right? We're trying to find something that may be on the other side that we didn't know about. And we get to this point maybe where we're just tired. We're tired of running from it. I highly, highly recommend Pema Chodron's book, Living Beautifully with Uncertainty and Change. It's such a beautiful book. I'll show it here when I'm not in this pose. And I come back to it often when I think about, she talks about the groundlessness of being, right? We want certainty, but we're always in this groundlessness of being where we don't know ever what's really going to happen. If 2020 taught us anything to do, I hope it helped us learn that a little bit. Take one more breath. Good. Now we're going to push back. Ooh, nice and slow. We're going to move into an Ardha Hanuman, flexing your left toes. Again, pad that knee if you need to, if your knee is feeling sensitive or tired. Stretch your heart forward. Very easy for the back to round here. It protects the hamstring, excuse me, from a deeper stretch. Now, you have to find that point for you in your body where one of my teachers used to say, you're captivated with the sensation. Captivated. It's not so intense that you are just, the second you're in it, you can't wait to get out, but it's that point where it keeps you very present because there's not really anything else you could focus on other than the actual sensation that's happening in your body. Very good. Now we're going to come into one more pose on this side. It's pigeon pose. It's going to be about a 2-minute hold. Now, if pigeon does not work in your body, then you're going to come on your back, and I will show in just a moment. You'll come on your back, but we're going to heel toe this left foot over. Some of you, I'm sorry, I have a frog in my throat that's just not exiting at the moment, so I'm just going to keep him there for a minute. You could take a blanket and set it under the pelvis. And then adjust, we'll deepen. Those of you that pigeon pose, it is not your place with your knees or any other part of your body. Come on your back. Left ankle is going to cross over your right. We're on the left side first. I know that feels backwards. And you'll thread your hands and you'll stay right here. Now, the nice thing about being on the back, you really get to work with gravity in a different way. You also get to really kind of, I think more when you lay on the back, control the intensity, okay? So if pigeon just feels like it's at 10 intensity and you just can't find anywhere in between, then maybe coming into figure 4 on the back would be a better alternative today because it's going to be a little longer hold, okay? So I want you to find your pose. You might come onto the forearms. There's so many variations here. I'm not going to say too many, but I will invite you, if you're familiar in your practice, if you have a favorite form, whether that's a bind or something like that, that you are invited to take whatever might feel good. and practice being in the moment, actually working with the resistance, working with the grittiness, the tension, the way that our body responds to the tightness, observing whether or not we're holding our own breath. Sometimes I'll even ask kind of my deeper self, what am I holding on to? And I'm not actually looking for an answer. I'm just trying to create a space to be open. And then I often remind myself that it's okay to let go. We don't really think about it, but letting go it's a choice, right? To hold on or to let go is a choice. You may notice the intensity of the pose increase or decrease as you stay longer. Very good. Bring your hands back underneath you. Tuck your back toes. I'm going to scooch my back knee forward a little bit and kind of see me inching it forward. And then I'm going to take this left leg out and just give it a shake. There's no right or wrong here. I'm making some circles. And then wherever you are, just take a moment, bring both knees down. Bring both knees down. Swivel your right shin to the right. Come onto the sole of your left foot in a modified side plank. Reach your left arm over your ear. So this hip was just in contraction, right? We were flexing it, so I just want to give it a moment to extend. And then I'm going to give you an option here. You can pick the leg up and reach back and take a thigh stretch. So today, I'm going to focus less on kicking into a back bend, and I'm going to focus more today in my body, just pulling the heel close to the glute and taking a thigh stretch, okay? The back bend form, and you want to kick back. It's all good. You do that. Keep that bottom arm straight and strong. Scoop your tailbone towards the back of your knee, and then let that leg go. Push the sole of the foot down as you swivel that left arm back to the ground and left knee back underneath you. Right foot, it's coming forward between the hands. And now I'm going to grab my blocks again. Here we go. You ready for all this on the second side? Well, just like life, it doesn't always ask our opinion and what we want. It just sort of comes at us sometimes. So instead of putting up your fists, just like open up your arms and say, bring it on. Here we go. I'm ready. Working with the grittiness, right? Even notice your foot placement here, right? Is your foot turned out? I want you for today, I want you to have the foot pointing forward. Sometimes we do that, but for this pose in this moment, foot is pointing forward, heel is pushing down, inner thighs gently squeezed together, heart lifting, shoulders relaxing. I'm going to look over my right shoulder here a little bit. Sometimes I can get a little deeper release when I look over the shoulder and down towards the floor. Remember to pad your knee if you need it. Bring your gaze, if you're looking over the shoulder, back to center. Ardha Hanuman. I want you to see how slow you can transition your hips as you draw the hips back over that left knee. Drop my blocks down a level. Flex your right toes and send your heart forward, even if you have to bend your front knee. I'm okay with that. I'm going to pretty much guess you're still feeling a nice hamstring stretch. Push the heel down though. Energetically wrap your outer left hip back, and that left frontal hip point will come a bit more forward. Today we practice understanding and not rejecting that intensity that's showing up. And we're going to feel some intensity, right, during this time. Holidays have so much emotion that go into them. All right, we're moving into pigeon or figure 4 on your back. And I really, please do the pose that you feel will get your body to a deeper space. Heel toeing that shin across, outer shin down. Push the outer edge of the foot down, so just to protect that outer knee. But again, if you get any pain in the knee, please just come on your back. Folding forward again, we've got about a 2 to 3 minute hold here. The holidays have so much emotion because there's so much memory, so many memories. And it's very hard, even though sometimes our relatives probably drive us crazy and we've secretly wished to not have have a holiday together. Then when it's actually presented to us, what do we want? We want it more than ever, right? Great example of how perspective can change. And that is that groundlessness of being. Maybe remind your body that I choose, right? It's your choice. I choose to let go in this moment. Can you begin to move your frontal hip points in pigeon, those of you in pigeon? See if you can move your heart more forward, like you're doing cobra. And those frontal hip points will start to tip. It'll get more intense, but they'll start to tip more forward. Gently walk your hands back. I'm going to tuck my back toes and very gently scooch my back knee closer until I feel comfortable that I can get that knee down, and then shake that right leg out. Circles, whatever feels good. Pause for a moment in tabletop, knees down. And then let your left shin swivel off to the left, sole of your right foot to the floor in a modified side plank. Right arm is going to stretch over your ear. hug your left shoulder blade, your bottom one, in towards the spine down your back. And then if you want, you just stay here or pick the leg up, reach the right hand back, and yogi's choice, whether you take it into a kneeling variation of a dancer pose, or I'm just going to focus on more of the thigh stretch. Lovely. Let go of that leg. Set your knees down. I'm going to grab my blanket and we're going to take a legs up the wall for a couple minutes before our Shavasana today. I'm going to take my blocks off to the side and I'm going to take my blanket, starting with it in this rectangle, and just give it a little roll so I've got a little bit of padding. If you don't have a wall today, but you do have a block, you can do a supported shoulder stand. So just do any height you want and slide your block under your sacrum. You could do that. And we're going to swing those legs up. So you kind of saw me sit to the side, and then we're going to swing the legs up the wall. Arms can be comfortable however that looks for you today. Now, if you're a little tighter here, you can put a little bend in those knees. You also can scooch away from the wall a little bit so that your buttocks aren't on the wall entirely. If your legs feel like they're having to hold on, you could even take a strap and put it on your legs so that it catches your legs and they're not having to work to hold yourself in any way. And let your eyes close. If you have trouble sleeping at night, this is a beautiful pose to do for 5 or 10 minutes before bed. Or if your mind just tends to be more anxious, and for any of you that work on your feet all day, very, very good pose to do. Now, if you like, you can take your legs into a wider straddle at the wall just for a moment. And if you're on a supported shoulder stand, you can do this as well. If you need to hold on, sometimes it's helpful. If you're in a supported shoulder stand, I like to kind of hold, grabbing the inner thighs closer towards the knees just to support the legs a little bit. And then hold a little bit on the outer legs, those of you with the legs up the wall, and now slide the soles of your feet together for a moment. And then you can either go back into legs up the wall, or I'm going to bring my knees together. And we're going to come to the mat and find our way into a Shavasana shape. Grabbing that blanket if you like to prop yourself up. Getting any props that you would like to make yourself comfortable. Let your eyes close if they haven't already. As you lay in Shavasana and bask in the alchemy of your own practice, we again have the invitation to better understand that we can't experience profound well-being and healing without working with and not against whatever's showing up. The gritty, the joy, the sadness, the frustration, the peace, whatever it is. Begin to come back. Gently move your fingers and your toes. Stretch your arms up and over your head. Roll to your right side. Push into your hands. Begin to bring your body upright, palms at your heart space. Today, we practice sticking around. We practice training ourselves to stay present as we became fully aware of both sensations and maybe feelings. And maybe you got to a space where you felt this layer of more compassion, not just for yourself, but to each other, where we begin to sense deeply our sameness with all beings. This is our work, right? This is our spiritual work, is to not reject what is coming our way, but to have an acceptance of it. And in this way, we will still feel uncomfortable, but we don't block energy. And we realize that there is a profound amount of healing and well-being that is just waiting to be released inside each and every one of us. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for practicing today. I'm sorry if you're not able to do what you have always done for the holidays. I know it's not easy, but I do know that in every moment there is a gift. And I know sometimes we want to punch each other when people say that, but there is a gift. There is a way that we can have grateful living even when things are not working out how we want them to. And that is the practice, to just accept this moment, knowing that I promise everyone, what I can promise us is that this will not last forever. So as you draw thumbs to third eye, take a moment for yourself to just recognize and appreciate something that you are so grateful for in this moment. And remind yourself that this too will pass. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. My heart is with you. My heart is with you. And I wish you so much joy and love as you step into the holiday, if you celebrate the holidays, and a beautiful new year. Although I will be with you one more time next week on is it the 30th, I think, for some yoga as healing as well. In the meantime, give yourself something to look forward to. I think that's something that helps all of us. Join us on the 28-day journey, the journey within, and do this for yourself. Gift it to Summit. Do it together. I would love to have you join. So thank you, everybody. I would love to hear what is something you are going to do that's going to be fun. Let's share some joy and spread some Christmas cheer. It could be telling me your favorite Christmas. I love it all. I love it all. Clearly, I love it all. So have a great holiday. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you next week.